This is Bela Fleck, and you're watching the 24 Hours podcast.
T-minus 4, 3, 2, 1. Following is a 24 Hours podcast. Play it.
The Hidden Land, the newest CD from Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. You're a very hard artist to try and pigeonhole in terms of style, because you basically do a bit of everything. What do you call yourself in terms of what style of music does Bela Fleck play?
I don't try to call myself anything in particular, but I love a lot of kinds of music, and I try and play everything I can try to understand, you know. But I come from a bluegrass background and also a lot of jazz fusion when I was a teenager, listening to it. So that's all in there, but then I grew up with classical music in my house, and so that's in my head a little bit, and every time I hear something, I try to figure out how the banjo will fit into it. But I don't really pick a kind of music and say that's what I do.
I think the banjo is a really underappreciated instrument in music, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
It's been good to you.
No, I mean, there's a lot of people that really like it, but generally speaking, yeah, it's been pigeonholed. A lot of people just think of it as an instrument for bluegrass or old-time music, and there's a lot of other things you can do with it. And historically, there's been a lot of things done with it. For instance, it's an early, important part of early jazz. You know, Louis Armstrong, Cab Calloway, Jelly Roll Morton all had banjos in their bands, and it kind of faded out of that music, and then it became really strong in folk and bluegrass. But it has a history, also going back to the slaves and going back to Africa. And even in the late 1800s, it was sort of the most popular instrument in the United States, kind of like guitar is now. You know, everybody had a banjo at their house, and they played all kinds of music on it. Pop music of the day, light classical music, and minstrel music, and music that came from the slaves.
Now, the story goes that you were inspired by listening to the Beverly Hillbillies theme, Earl Scruggs.
Yeah.
Did you play a mean Foggy Mountain breakdown?
I've played quite a bit of it, yeah, over the years. I don't play it that much these days, but I always enjoy playing any bluegrass stuff when I do get the chance.
I saw you perform on The Late Show with David Letterman, and I saw you with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Now, people think of him as the funny guy, but he's actually a pretty good musician, isn't he?
He's a good musician. I like his playing a lot. I was really surprised. I heard one of his comedy records years ago. One half of it was comedy, the other half of it was banjo instrumentals that he wrote. So he's not just a closet picker who plays Earl Scruggs stuff. He writes his own songs all the time, and they're all very sweet and interesting tunes. Now, he's not used to playing with other people that much, because when he did play a lot, he played it as part of his solo act. So he doesn't really, he's not as conversant with how to play backup and support roles. But that's okay. I mean, he doesn't need to be, you know, and if he ever wants to do that, he'll find it pretty easy to learn.
Now, I know you said that you don't really try and put yourself into one category of music, but I remember some years ago, a great song of yours called Bow Tie, and I was working at a classic rock radio station, and our sister country station was having a hard time deciding could they play that or not. Like, I mean, they didn't really know if Bela Fleck was a country artist anymore. Does it bother you when you have those kind of misconceptions about your style of music?
Not really. I mean, I think it comes with the territory. I mean, if I wanted to play some kind of music that was, you know, pop of some kind, country music or pop or rock or something, then it'd be easier for people to understand what I do. But I understand that the choices that I've made makes it harder to market me, but I prefer who I am this way. And in some cases, maybe I won't be as successful, you know, but in other cases, I will, because over the years and years, people find out about stuff, and you develop an audience that's more underground. Maybe you're not played on the pop station or the country station or the rock station or even the smooth jazz station, but people find out about it as the years go by if you stick to your trip, if you believe in your trip enough, and that's worked out pretty well for me.
Now, you've been nominated for a bunch of Grammys, you've won a bunch of awards,
Yeah.
So obviously you've got a pretty large audience. Is there a typical Bela Fleck fan?
I think you could probably refine it down to maybe 5 or 6 kinds of people, maybe, you know. Some people might be open-minded bluegrass fans who got their minds opened by hearing jazz and the stuff that we do. Some people might be, you know, jazz fans that heard us. Some people might be, you know, guitar freak, electric bass and guitar freaks that like shredding and like hot playing and want to hear us for that. But then there's also a Grateful Dead kind of Dave Matthews Fish audience that really likes us. So what's great is it's a very wide, diverse thing. But you know, as years go by and I do more different things, there's a classical audience that starts to come after I did that classical record that won a couple of Grammys. People just start to go, I don't know, I think they're going to do something good, so I'll go see it. And they're not saying, I only like this or I like that. But I like the fact that it's a wide audience. I mean, I like that a lot. The music is wide, so let's have a wide audience.
Well, Bela, you never disappoint with your style of music and whatever areas that you're sort of tripping into. And another great album. Congratulations on the success. And enjoy Vancouver. Thank you.
Thank you.
24hours.ca